That's
We're
my,
gonna call meeting to order.
no, that's my son.
Call
Oh,
It's
your
my
son.
son's son.
I thought you said grandson. or whatever.
Yeah.
Don Bagley,
Present.
Dale Hughes, Chris Cox, Brian Maynard, Phil Hoffman, Susan Alshire, here, David Wilkins, Landon Magley, Lynn Burns.
Here.
Alright. Everybody stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing on the agenda is a review and approval of meeting minutes from September 3rd and September 26th. Motion on that, review of these. Alright. This brings us to the rezoning request from Darren Adams. And open the floor. The floor is now open for comments. Can you step forward, if you please state your name? Oh, sorry, and address. So the floor is open.
If you'd like to talk.
If you'd
And
like
please
to
come to
speak.
the microphone too.
My name's Brenda Moss. I live at 211 Alco Street. I live directly north on Alco Street of this property. I did receive a letter from the city of Centralia talking about the rezoning of this. I moved to Centralia in 1983. My husband and I bought 211 Alco Street in 1986. We've lived there 33 years, and I don't plan on relocating. In hopes of one day, I would hope of buying that property and buying it against the trailer court and everything, that someday I would see houses there that would help the value of my property. And I didn't know if I'd ever live long enough to see that, but that day has come. And so I was a little disappointed when I learned that it was going to be apartments. And I feel like for the board to rezone it from a 1 to a 3, we have enough traffic as it is. Allen Street is already one of the main streets like Jefferson Street going through town. When the school lets out, there's a lot of traffic, and when there's a lot of school activities at the high school, there's a lot of traffic. There's no sidewalks on Alco or Southwest Circle, or even on the south part of Allen Street. That causes the problems for people walking, students. They have to take the streets. I feel like the area of putting something like this is so congested that it's not a very good idea. The streets are narrow. I know our street at Alco Street is very narrow, and we do have to park along the street too, as well. And our cars have been hit multiple times. But I know Southwest Circle also has the same issue too. Their streets are narrow. I just wanted to say that I think it's a great idea, and I'm all for the city of Centralia. I've lived here. I've always been supportive of the city of Centralia growing. Are they in need of more senior housing? Yes, they are. But I feel that something like this needs to be in a more well-developed area instead of putting in a residential area in R1 zone. I would like to ask too, and I don't know, and you can say yay or nay, but I do know a couple of people weren't able to attend, but said that they were gonna send letters. Did you receive a couple letters?
I only have one, but
From 212 Southwest Circle?
no.
Okay. Because she sent me a text of the letter that she sent me.
Do you know if she addressed it to an alderman?
She said to whom it concerns.
Okay.
They didn't. I can print that for you if you want it, but I know it's after 5 o'clock or whatever. So if you can't take it, you can't take it.
Well, there's
That's a
another,
shame.
depending on the outcome
Okay.
today, there will be another public hearing.
All right. Okay. And like I said, I'm all for something like that, but you're trying to squeeze something into something that's not going to fit. Would houses fit? Sure it would. And I'd rather see homes. Thank you.
Do we have additional comments?
My name's William Ross. I live at 721 South Allen, on the corner of Alco and Allen. As she mentioned, the traffic during football games and during high school and so on is very congested in that area anyway. And to move a multifamily unit in there and try to work around that on a daily basis, it's really, for me, it's not feasible. I've lived there since 2005, so I've been there 14 years. And I gotta say, I love this town, but, you know, you gotta make smart decisions when it comes to multiple family living. So, that's all I got to say.
Anyone else?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi.
Connie Troyer. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. Grew up here, so I know what a great town, what a great city it is. Off and on, and then moved back full-time about 10 years ago. When I talk about Centralia and some of the growing pains that we're going through, I jokingly refer to it as inner city going through gentrification. Because we have all the outlying areas that the tax dollars do not go to our library. But anyway, we have the outlying areas, and then we have the initial core of Centralia. And that's the part that's going through gentrification. And I really think that it would be more, it'd be better for the surrounding houses, for just the cost value, to remain single family. And while I applaud Mr. Adams for seeing the potential for this area, because that area, the trailer park and the house next door, I'll say it is somewhat of a blight. You don't have to have a large city to have urban blight. And blight is simply negligence for whatever form. It's lack of interest, lack of funding, whatever. But at least he saw the potential and he wants to improve it. But I think that improvement will be far better served if it remains single family. A couple other things, we touched upon the parking or the traffic. Traffic in and of itself will be a problem. But each unit, 22 units, has parking for 2 cars. That's 44 cars in that. I mean, I realize you guys can do the math, but that is 44 cars in that area. And that's not to say of any on-street parking that, whether it's visitors or maybe a teenager that owns a car or somebody that's just living there, but that's just that much more parking space. Also, one thing that I happen to think of today, which is kind of a sidelight, is trash and recycle. These units do not have garages. So that means that each unit, if indeed they recycle, they will have 2 receptacles out by their front doors. That means that each unit is going to have 2 receptacles that go to the curb for trash pickup, for recycle pickup. And it's going to be by the front door, and since there aren't any garages and no storage space, that means that everything is going to remain around the front door. And I just think that over a period of time, that it will end up being more of an eyesore. And while everybody has their own priorities, you know, sometimes life gets in the way and you can't necessarily choose whether it's time spent in the yard or time spent with anything else that takes you away from having your property look nice. So with everything all considered, like I said, I applaud Mr. Adams for once for seeing the potential, but I really think that our area would be better served had it, should it remain single family. Thank you.
Angela Crystal. I own the home at 728 Green Street. We've been there about 7 years now. I bought that house in 2007. I have 3 children, one of which just graduated, so involved in the schools and know about them walking through the area and all the children that go through. And so I just really second everything that's been said. It's very, very congested. I have walked that property, I don't know how many times, walking to football games and walking around with the kids. And while I do agree that something needs to be done, I also agree that single-family homes would be a much better option. My grandma lives with me, so I know that there's a lack of senior housing because that's not an option in Centralia for us. We've looked into what is available, so I know it's limited. I just don't necessarily feel like a complex of that size with that much parking, no sidewalks, is gonna be beneficial in any way, shape, or form in between the 2 schools. You've got kids on the other side trying to walk to the intermediate school, kids on this side trying to get to the high school. It can get very congested, so I just agree.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Sanders. I live at 419 Southwest Circle. I've lived there about a little over 2 years now. Love my neighborhood. Very glad I moved there. I moved into that area specifically because it was a cul-de-sac. It was a dead-end street. I could allow my 7-year-old to ride her bike up and down the street without having to worry. You add how many other driveways down that street, that's that many more cars that I have to worry about my kid getting hit by or something to that effect. I know there's a few parents in here. We have a great neighborhood of kids around all my kids' age group from 5 to 10 years old. Great neighborhood of kids, and love that they can go and run and play like they do, but I'm afraid that if we add something like this, again, great idea, wrong neighborhood. I think that we do need the apartment complexes in Centralia. We do have the families that need it, just not in our area. So again, just agreeing with everybody else that it's just not a great spot. Thank you.
Amber Gardner, 301 Southwest Circle. I agree with everything, the congestion. I've been in that house less than a year, but also I chose it for the cul-de-sac, for the quiet neighborhood. Then I come to find out that there is an awesome group of kids on our whole street and on Allen. And they play in our street, and to add 9-ish more driveways and the trash and the no sidewalks, I love the idea of the senior housing. I love seniors. I have a senior that needs a home, but I wouldn't put it there. I have, in less than a year, become frustrated on my commute back and forth to schools. In the morning, even when school's not in session, when there's not a football game, there's parking, the side street parking there on Allen. You have to wait for if there's an oncoming car. It's already frustrating. So I feel like adding the 40-some, 50 more cars, it's crazy to me. So I'd like to say that again, it's a great idea, wrong location. Thank you.
Pam Dorman, they live in South Allen, and pretty much the same thing. We don't have little kids at home, but I know every one of the neighbors across the street on the opposite side of Allen Street, and all these people that have already spoken have children, and because of their ages, and parents take care of them, they're well behaved, they stay in the yard, ride bikes and all that kind of stuff. However, there's that fear of the kids running out to get a ball or whatever, and last thing we need is more cars, more congestion. And like everybody else has said, great idea, wrong place.
Hello, Crystal Ariano. I'm at 208 Southwest Circle. I would be right across the street on the south end of this development. I am one of the families who too has children. The cul-de-sac is very appealing to our road. We actually have kids from across South Allen from other streets who will come over and play on our street because it's safe. This is a great idea, bad area to do it in. This will be a safety issue for not just adults, for children, for everybody. So hopefully this could work somewhere else. So, thank you.
My name's Darren Adams. I bought the property with the intention on trying to do a single-family attached townhomes. I've heard a lot of people make the comment of an apartment complex. It's not an apartment complex. It's no different than single-family housing. Kind of with that being said, the city did not have an ordinance to allow single-family attached housing. And so that's actually still in the process, am I correct? So the only reason for the rezoning is to meet the zoning requirements that they're only gonna allow the single-family attached zoning in. The intentions are not to do a multi-use complex or anything like that. The intentions for that side are to be 55 and older. We've been approached by numerous people that are interested in a home that each individual unit has their own address. They're interested in a home where they could basically be snowbirds, spend 6 months a year somewhere else. In with this, we're in the process of trying to work through all maintenance is going to be included with each property. Lawn care, there's going to be a spot for dumpsters. That's all part of the stuff that goes through the plating process whenever that happens and how that happens. Kind of same thing with sidewalks, if I'm incorrect, speak up. I'm assuming.
You mean adding sidewalks to
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, I'm open to answer any questions, not trying to do anything. In my personal opinion, whatever's done there is gonna increase everybody's property value. You know, you gotta pick some negative with some good, I guess, as far as there is 9 trailer spots there right now.
Only for being used though.
Sure, but it doesn't matter.
They can't move anything else in there,
I disagree.
do you?
Yes.
Zone wise, can they move another trailer in that property?
They question, but I think you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, yeah, I was under the impression that they couldn't.
Yeah.
So, it's not my intention, however, you know, the highest and best use for the property is what we try to look at in things. And I personally believe that the intentions, you can kind of see a drawing of what the intentions are up at the top. It's gonna be a horseshoe-shaped building. We're gonna relocate all utilities in the back. The inner circle is all gonna be connected with rear patios. That's gonna connect a walking trail that goes around the entire inside. It's gonna be as family friendly as possible, you know, for the 55 and older. You know, with 55 and older, there's a lot of rules that come and a lot of things that have to happen. But the intentions is to keep it 55 and older. Now the one on Lakeview is a different story. The one on Lakeview is just gonna be single family attached townhomes. And they're gonna be basically for any age. Does anybody have any questions directly for me that I could?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you have all these residents for 55 and older,
Mhm.
and you only have 4 or 5 families that are 55 and older, what are you gonna do with the rest of them?
I personally believe that we'll be able to fill them. There's been 4 or 5 that have contacted me about interested in one, just for the simple fact of being able to travel outside Centralia and still have a place here that they could call home, that they know is going to be taken care of, maintained, so on and so forth. I believe that there's, the last time I checked, there is 22 people on the waiting list out of senior housing, which is income subsidized. I'm not planning on being income subsidized, so I know that the majority of those will not, but I believe there is a fair share there that will work. You know, there's still a lot of questions that go into it, but this is definitely the first step is getting the property rezoned to where we can move forward. The top drawing is basically the sketch plat to be turned into the city once the ordinance is passed.
Are these for purchase or for rent?
At the beginning, they will be for rent, but they will be individually addressed,
Right.
where there will be a time that they will be sold.
So will there be a covenant or a,
There'll be covenants and restrictions and a homeowners association. The homeowners association will actually be in charge of all the maintenance.
I was thinking more in terms of maintaining the fact that it's 55 and older.
Yeah, that would be more or less what that could be done there. There's mechanisms in the deeds that could be done to make that happen, such as deed restrictions.
The people that you have talked to so far that is interested in this, do they know that this is the location that you're looking at?
Absolutely.
And just so I'm clear, how many total units are going to be on that property?
The total number of units have not been completely decided on because there's some verbiage in the ordinance.
What's the plan?
The plan right there, how it's drawn, is 22 units.
So you're going to move 22 families onto that property?
22 people, yes.
Well, I'm guessing it's gonna be more than
One
person per
Yeah.
household.
Very well could be.
Okay, well, you're still talking about the congestion, you're still talking about parking problems, we haven't solved the problem that we have.
So what happens when you have 5 people, I'm sorry Brenda, you have 5 people interested, and what if you don't? You have 22, you have 17 empty for months and months and even years, and then what's your plan for?
Looks like it's a bad investment.
Are you just gonna rent them out to whoever, I think is what she's wanting to know?
No, it's gonna be 55 and older. We have, currently right now, we do property management on, I believe it's 62 pieces of property in town. You know, most everybody that has been around my property and has seen my property has seen what has happened to them. Once we've purchased them, we went in, remodeled them, cleaned them up, things like that. You know, we take pride in our property. We look at them from a long-term investment standpoint. And so the better that we can maintain our properties, the better the rents are, the more people are willing to stay in them, so on and so forth.
I do have an answer from the city attorney. Once those trailers are out, no more can be moved in. You cannot move trailers in. That's why.
That was my understanding.
I don't believe that's correct.
I'm gonna go with what our legal counsel says.
Sure.
You mentioned covenants and homeowners associations. Would that be for both developments or
Correct.
one in particular?
Yeah, of course, the one on Lakeview will be a different set because it's not being
Which is the
restricted.
one that you thought just might have 22 units?
The one at Alco, Southwest, and Allen.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe I get to speak. So you're saying 22 units,
correct,
22 driveways,
correct,
9 on Alco, 9 on Southwest Circle, 4 on Allen.
correct.
Where are people gonna park that are visiting?
There's actually ample parking following the city's setbacks and things, front yard setbacks and whatnot.
So will people be on the park on like?
They won't be
On
parking
Allen
on the
Street.
street. I'm a firm believer that nobody should park on the streets.
Okay, because I'm right across the street.
Especially
Yeah,
these
so if I'm
streets.
backing out, there's cars right there, there's no way.
Yeah.
So that was my,
Yeah.
that was my question.
I believe whenever I was part of Emerald Point subdivision, Cobblestone and Mystic Ridge, I told the city that in my opinion, they were more than welcome to go down and put no parking on the street signs on every one of them. I personally don't believe you should park on the street.
So if you believe that, but does the city, so will people still be parking on the street?
Will these be 4-car driveways or 2-car driveways? If 2 cars.
Basically, they're gonna be poured pads clear across the front.
And then that 4 cars.
The green space is gonna be in the back of the units, is my intention.
So what if they have a Christmas party and there's not enough room to park, they have to park on the streets?
Sure.
And Alco Street, if you park 2 vehicles, one on each side, you're not gonna be able to get down.
No, not at all.
Yeah, too many people.
You can't pull off because of the irrigation ditch.
Especially on Southwest Circle, the ditch is very steep immediately to the street.
I think the city has that problem no matter what street it is in Centralia.
Except we're adding to our problem here.
Oh, yeah.
Would there be plans of widening at least Allen Street, where there could be at least a bike lane and a sidewalk? Because we do not have, that is one thing I'm trying to allow my daughter to ride her bike to school. I still follow her every day on her bike because there is no sidewalk or bike lane on Allen Street. I make her go from Allen, South of Circle to Allen to Alco to Rollins, and then all the way up to Lakeview, because there's no sidewalk and Allen is too busy. If we could get
What is this?
widened Allen Street, that would help at least a little bit, but would the city be willing to do that?
But it's only on one side of the
It's
street.
the culvert systems and, yeah.
Can we just take a hand vote of the people that came tonight to see who's for it and who's against it? It's up to you.
Sure. You can do that, because,
Who all is against this? Who all is for it?
I think the people have spoken.
Did you have anything else, Darren?
No. Does anybody have anything else for me?
No, thank you though.
No problem.
Thank you very much. If there's no, are there any other comments? Everybody have an opportunity? All right, we're gonna close the public hearing portion of the meeting. And that brings us to commission discussion on the rezoning request. Do we have anybody that? Go ahead.
About 22 years ago, there was a proposition to change the rezoning on Lee Street from R1 to R3. The people at that time in that area was against it. And they were convinced or told that it would be senior citizen housing. But when they were built as fourplex with upstairs. You don't too many seniors in the upstairs. Parking was set up the same way. It was set up for about 1 car for each apartment. Since then, if you go down by there, you'll see why this is not a good idea.
Agree.
It's, parking is atrocious. Dumpsters are in front. And it's not been seniors, there's been no seniors in it at all. And so I don't think you can claim that once you change it to R3 that it's gonna be seniors. It's not going to, whatever you change it to, you're gonna have people in there, and it's not going to be just seniors. You gotta give consideration to everything that it could be, not just what it's said to be, but what it could be. And under circumstances that I know right now, I would not be in favor of it.
Good.
Okay. Anyone else?
Naysayer again on this meeting. The trailer parks existed before zoning was ever adopted. Why they didn't recognize them with small islands of upscale zoning, I don't know, but they didn't. But the fact is that both have been essentially multifamily parcels for 50 or 60 years at least. So I can sympathize with Darren wanting to maintain the density. Now, I sort of agree with Don. I don't care what's in the covenants. I'm not sure that ultimately restricting it to 55 is going to be legally viable.
Because if it doesn't pan out, you're gonna have to, right?
I'm not sure what the status of various court cases and federal law can change things at a drop of a hat. That said, I'm not sure I'm particularly enamored of the layouts that he has. And it may well be that there are condominium layouts that would approach things better than the townhouse arrangements, so.
So I have a question to Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
The one thing that I heard several people make a comment tonight was, we definitely see a need to have something done with that location. But what everybody would have been fully supported in was single-family homes. And I guess my question to you is, why not single-family homes in that area as opposed to this, and why not this somewhere else that fits it better? Is there, I mean, if you entertain that, I mean, I'm asking from my own personal reasons as well. I mean, I guess because, you know, having lived in this town, I understand the reservations that folks would have. You know, it's the unknown. I think it's really the unknown. We've not seen anything demonstrated yet in this town that would be a I'm gonna call it multifamily, I guess it's really not. I mean, we're trying to say it's single family attached, and it is, but when you start saying rental, you also go to multifamily, so it's, you know.
So I guess what I'm hearing is the largest issue is the density of it. So if it was, what is that magic number that you guys would be happy with?
None, because we would like single homes.
Yes.
They are single homes.
Why are
No.
they
Yeah,
attached?
together, it's
Why do they have to be
condominium.
attached, I guess?
Homes comparable to the homes that are there.
Yes.
Okay.
8 lots, 8 houses.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And to answer your question, my personal opinion of, I had the property listed for sale for a year. I had numerous people that were interested in purchasing the property. And what they were going to do was basically pull those trailers out, put brand new trailers in, and rent them out. And their intentions were to do Section 8 low-income housing. And some financial things happened with them that they were unable to do so. There was 3 different investors that looked at it. Mr. Jones and I had numerous conversations, of course, and I made the comment at one time of, well, I'd really like to do townhomes somewhere here in Centralia, and I think it'd be a perfect place because it is close to the high school, to where people can still get there for football games, because football is pretty much a big deal here. So my personal opinion is, I think the location's great for it. Are there hindrances to it? Absolutely. I don't think there's a single development out there that's ever been done that there hasn't been some type of hindrances to it. You know, we as people typically don't embrace change all that well. Quite honestly, I just felt like that it was time that Centralia kind of evolved and moved to the next step, took care of a demand for the senior housing. And I personally still believe that most of the units are gonna be acquired by single people, widows, or, no, I cannot guarantee that. I can tell you that there won't be kids there if it's 55 and older.
Why?
Why not?
Wow.
Well, there will not be kids residing
Okay,
there,
so,
Why not?
Why not?
because it's not allowed under 55 and older.
My thing is what if?
That is
what if
your
it doesn't work?
stipulation?
My sister has a grandchild
Then,
If you sell them, you
that
can't.
they have
If
custody
you
of.
sell them and they have single ownership, you can't tell people who to live that have.
Right.
under the deed restrictions and the covenants, under the stipulations that are in the covenants and restrictions, and under the deed restrictions, those are some of the rules with the 55 and older community.
So if a grandparent takes custody of a child through a death or whatever, and has to take that child in, you're telling that person that they can't do it, period.
I'm not an attorney, but that's what my attorney has told me.
Well, I don't think that's gonna work, to be honest with you.
all right, so we'll take that under, that specific, I think everybody shares a concern with that specific piece of it, so, just to not rehash the entire,
Also,
point on that, I understand that.
now, does the city have a right of way through the middle of that property going down through between Alco and Southwest Circle with the power lines and?
Right now,
I
it's
would
power
not.
lines.
That's a
It
good
runs
question.
behind there, it doesn't come completely through.
Because you got your electric lines coming through there and
It comes from all the way from the west up to there and then back out to Alco.
comes back out. Well, I know there's some poles down there and has lights and stuff on it and that, so I didn't know if that property there had a right of way or not.
Do we have anybody else that would, questions or comments from the commission?
Comment that I see everyone's place with the Alco at Southwest. At no point have I heard anything against or for Lakeview and South Allen, the other development, which is not restricted to 55 and older. Is there any comment or concern there?
How many units?
What do you mean South Allen?
Down
Part
the
of it.
other trailer
I
park.
thought that was the first next meeting.
Oh.
Okay,
It's the other trailer park.
No, I didn't know that.
Can I ask, did those people, like we got letters, did those people around there get letters also?
I didn't get a letter.
Some of us got letters, some of us didn't, I didn't get letters.
Yeah,
Right,
she didn't get a letter
the,
either.
so what we did is we go on the GIS system and we can load it to, the requirement's 185 feet. And so.
But she would, I would
If
think.
it puts out, I don't know, then I don't know why I didn't generate one for you, I apologize.
You go property line to property line, because if you do, mine's 100 feet from there.
I don't know
There's
what
only
it
two
actually
properties
says.
between mine and it.
I'm saying theirs,
Do you go to the homeowner?
They
or
didn't
to
get one
the
either.
It went from the
resident?
parcel, so if you put the resident parcel, so we may have to expand that, if it's not going as far as it should, so,
I didn't get a letter.
okay.
okay. No problem.
As far as the one down at the end of the street, I mean, I'm not directly connected to that, but it would still require a rezoning, correct?
Correct, that's what, that was.
And I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that that's part of what they're not for, is the rezoning of that area.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're getting the same positive or negative either property.
How many units are we talking on Lakeside,
Lakeview.
or Lakeview? 4, okay.
Just 4 townhomes on Lakeview?
That's
Yeah,
a
Lakeview
big
and one
difference.
on.
I mean, that's
I
nothing
don't
in
know
comparison.
Yeah,
to what
Is
you're
it parked
asking
on
for the
Lakeview or is it no parking?
And then it made me think about those kids walking in the school.
I think I've ever seen any cars parked on
There's a
Lakeview.
lot of traffic.
Yeah, you can park there really, not with the school buses. There's a lot of children who walk to intermediate school in that area.
Sounds as if the size of the number of units in each of the locations is what's really driving the response, so.
East on Lakeview, they got sidewalks to walk on.
Yeah.
Where
I don't know
down
why
the
so
other end
much
they
the
don't.
number of units is just them being like attached, like both, like not single, why not single homes, I guess is what I'm not understanding is why can't that just be lots for single homes? I agree it needs improvement, why can't it be smaller, single, non-attached homes to where you have more space, can set them back, there's not so many, and make those affordable. If you still want older housing, just not so many, so bunched, so attached, you know, still kind of keep, like everyone's saying, what it is now, single homes. And I understand that that's not what it is, because it's a trailer park, but what's surrounding it is, what the hopes I think everyone had when they realized no more new trailers could go in, but as those go out, they would become homes like what we all have, and not be another crowded area.
Do you have any other?
If I'm allowed to speak. For me, it's like the bigger picture, the future. When these things, it's not so much like, once you change the rezoning, you're opening it up to anything in the future and anybody's interpretation of that. So whether it's affected right now and they build that and 10 years go by and we're great, it's the people that are gonna stay in our houses for 30 years and what is it gonna look like then, to me? I mean, besides all the other things that are brought up. And the one on the corner, like you're saying, on Lakeview, does sound much more reasonable, but that, I watch that every day, and CIS and CES kids walk down there, and I cringe at those high school kids zooming past the four-way right there at that corner, and it is a nightmare. Something's
congested.
really gonna happen.
Well, you're talking about kids, so they don't pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they zoom up and down Alco too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allen,
Yeah.
period, Allen, period.
All the time.
Yeah, Alan's bad too.
Yeah.
They open them up fast.
Sometimes it's like the Indy 500 down there.
That's a
Yeah,
very,
yeah, I've
very
seen
good
a
point.
On the
few of
rezoning
them.
part, if that block is rezoned, is the south side of Southwest Circle also gonna be rezoned as well, for multifamily? So, yeah, the south side of Southwest Circle, would that also be R3 at that point, if it was all rezoned? Maybe.
The entire street
Like,
or just
nothing,
that
no,
property
it's just
line?
the parcel,
Just
just where the
lot.
house is.
Okay. I asked because if that whole area, if the other side of the street was going to be rezoned at that point, I know that, I can't think of their names.
Crystal.
Lives at the end of the street,
Us, the
No.
Norman Band.
Dormans.
Yeah.
Dormans live at the end of the street, and they have a very large backyard. At some point, then, okay, if we rezone all of that area to R3, they move or whatever, that could easily be turned into more apartments or multifamily.
This does not include that,
Okay.
their property.
I have just one more thing to say too, if I can.
Yes.
And I know I don't live on Southwest Circle, but it is a dead end, there's no outlet. So say if you do have 9 driveways coming out, you have visitors or whatever, they are parked along on the right-hand side of that street. They're all gonna have to go down to the cul-de-sac, turn around and come back out. And it's gonna be havoc for the people who live on the end of that street, because there's no outlet.
Yeah.
And then it's something really to think about.
My driveway would appear at first to be a 4-car driveway. It is not. I drive a Mazda 6 and a Chevy Silverado short bed. You cannot park cars behind my car. So if I have even one visitor, they're in the street already. And I do. I have a mom and I have a huge family.
I already have a shared driveway with my neighbor's mom, and we're fine the way we are. I can fit 3 cars in my driveway, but putting 3 cars in my driveway, and if he has his grandkids at his house at all, 1 car cannot get in and out. Like, so it's already congested in our
And
area.
there's very few can even park in the circle down there.
You
Like
can't,
3
you
cars
can't park in
maybe.
the circle really, because the
The
drop.
driveways, yeah, and the drop off.
So if you've got people visiting parked out in the cul-de-sac, and you have cars coming down there trying to turn around, how do they
They're
turn
not,
around?
they're,
It's hard,
it's
isn't
gonna
it?
be a 9-point turn.
And this will be a concern during winter weather as well. Anybody parked on the street for snowblading will be an issue.
Yeah. And to mention that it could become an issue for emergency vehicles. Correct.
Yeah.
So I'd like to bring it back to the commission
Sorry.
at this time. Is there any other comments from? on that, I'm gonna make a motion for us to, for our recommendation, is that right? Approving the recommendation going forward. Those in favor,
Is it on one single property or each separate parcel?
You have to treat them as two separate issues. Well, you should.
So you do Alco and Southwest as separate from
want to
Lakeview?
do each one individually?
Yes.
Okay, we can do that, yes. I'm thinking like maybe Heather, she's gonna tell me if it's something. She did tell me I was mayor today, so.
If Lynn says we should, we should.
Well, I don't
Sit in a
think.
seat. All right, so let's do our recommendation based on each one. So the first one we'll do, is the Lakeview and Allen Street property. So we'll make a motion to approve or deny on that location. Those in favor?
Oh, well, somebody has to make a motion.
Oh, yeah.
Is moving it to R3?
Yes, sorry, I missed the motion part.
I make a motion we move that to R3.
I'll second
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed?
Aye.
On the southwest circle, may we make a motion on the southwest circle?
I make a motion to turn it to R3.
You do want it rezoned?
No, we got to vote on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he's just making the motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Those in favor of the southwest circle property? Those opposed?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you need a roll call for that?
I didn't hear enough. Did you?
I was still contemplating.
None.
Aye.
On the opposed?
Aye.
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 All right. Opposed?
What was the vote on that one?
That did not pass.
So, it did not pass to rezone to R3, but Lakeview and Allen did pass to rezone to R3.
Thank you.
Yes.
We probably owe it to the audience to explain procedure. We make a recommendation and a report to the Board of Aldermen. They will accept that at the same time that they have their other public hearing, which is
October 21st at 7 p.m.
Will there be more letters for that, so maybe reach more people that didn't get
Well,
the
that would have an effect.
That
The
was
Board of
the
Aldermen
plan.
takes the
That
final
was the plan.
action. And if there are objections in writing from more than 30% of the property owners that are within 185 feet of the property line of this subject property, then the Board of Aldermen has to have a 2/3 majority vote, which means it would have to have 4 of the 6 aldermen voting in favor. It couldn't be 3 and 3 and the mayor casting a deciding vote. But they could still agree to the rezoning. It would just have to be a supermajority.
So you said letters from all the homeowners.
people that
How-
obviously weren't reached.
How soon does that letter need to be reached, and who needs to receive that letter for that to be considered?
Or do they show up to the public?
Or does our vote tonight count? Like, say I'm against it, is that documented, Brenda Moss is against it?
Yes, that information will be in the minutes. That will be
Everybody
presented.
that is,
But now, do we need to get some letters sent out to the people that didn't receive a letter to make sure everybody gets a letter? That's 180.
I will send letters
Okay.
with the results from tonight's meeting, and I will extend that a little bit further to see if maybe the criteria wasn't working correctly or just didn't reach as many as it should. So we'll send that out.
So if we didn't speak tonight up there, do we need to send a letter?
You're welcome to, if you want to.
But, so, then you said that we needed at least 30% of the homeowners around that area to send a letter.
The ordinance says 30% in writing of the owners within 185 feet, all or part.
Can you give me a number of residents that are in that area?
It's by, the percentage, I think, in the ordinance is by square footage. So the lots that have written objections versus this square footage of all of the available properties within that. That's some calculations.
I couldn't give it to you right this second, but I could tomorrow.
So my vote counts as big as my yard, is that very funny? Yes, but I'm saying, but I'm one person, but I'm based on my square footage of my property, correct? I just wanna make sure I understand. Okay.
But you will go to the board now, the Board of Aldermen, and basically tell them this is how the zoning
They'll
board.
get the minutes of this meeting and they'll be reported.
Yeah.
Does it have to be in the form of single letters, or can we circulate a petition and have all of us sign up with our addresses and what our feelings are?
Can we basically just sign something tonight?
I'm sending her a
A petition. I don't think it has to be in the form of petition. I don't think it has to be any particular language, given the way it's worded in the ordinance.
Okay.
So if you get 15 letters, or one
As
petition
long
with
as you have
15 signatures,
30%.
I would recommend, for
Uh-huh.
the sake of Heather having to calculate, that if your property is within the 185 feet,
It is.
then you note that on the petition or the letter. And she can look up the square footage and compare that
Okay.
to the total amount a little bit more simply. It doesn't mean that the people who are farther away than the 185 feet don't count, but the legal requirement to determine whether you need the supermajority or not for the Board of Aldermen to.
Okay. My whole property is across the street from on Alco.
Street's what, 60 feet?
20.
Yeah, it's not 60 foot.
It's a 50-foot, I think.
About 60, yeah.
Okay, if it's across
When you
the
say
street,
about
then
60?
Southwest to me.
50?
It's not 150 feet.
If you have a petition and everyone's addresses are on there, if you get it to me in time before the meeting, I can go on the GIS system and measure and make sure that it's within the 185 feet and mark that on your petition.
Okay.
So should we be at the next meeting, October 21st?
If you'd like to be.
The 21st at what time did you say?
7 p.m.
So
Okay.
does it count per vote per owner per lot, or?
One per, it would be one per property, right?
So in actuality, we could vote twice?
It would be a household vote, right?
No, no.
You have 2 adult residents, or even
Well,
more
that's-
sometimes
yeah.
per.
Well, me and the wife's both
My
going.
my purpose for asking this
Two
question is,
lots.
we have 2 lots.
Oh.
Does our vote count? Can we,
Each lot
that's why we
would
have
vote?
the big backyard. is
You're
because
voting
it's
based
2 lots.
upon your square footage of your lot. It has nothing to do with how many people living there.
But what if you own 2 lots?
And
like she is?
then your square footage is
Count
bigger.
both.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any way to know if how many residents are owners?
That's the state statute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're 100.
Real quick, just a second, real quick on the petition versus the letter.
no longer
We
the
just heard back from legal that, per state statute, that it is a letter. So it would be under probably your, to be sure that you've covered your bases, if you want to send something in, is to send it in as a letter. It doesn't have to be a specific letter form, just a letter with, stating your.
Who do we address it to?
Centralia Board of Aldermen.
And what does the letter need to state?
That's your post.
Name, address,
That's your
name,
post
just
and,
your name and address and signature.
okay,
She said the individual letters ensure that they are truly in fact coming from the individual and specifically identify as the homeowner.
Right.
okay.
And my question was, this gets back to the home ownership. Do we know how many people, how many owners there are that don't live in Centralia? Or whether it's investment property, or, you know,
That's a good
don't give a darn about anything that happens in Centralia, except the fact that their property's rented.
So whenever the list generated from the GIS system this time, if you guys got a letter, it probably said current resident. Because that's how it generated
did.
the letters. So I apologize, it wasn't more formal. But I did double check all of those addresses in the county assessor's website to see if the person that lived there was the same person that we had in our utility billing system. And so if it was not and they were out of town, I sent those to the property owner as well.
So does the resident vote count or only the property owner?
That's all I'm really proud of.
The property owner counts for the sole purpose of determining whether there needs to be a supermajority of the Board of Aldermen ratifying the rezoning. Anybody's letter or petition counts, whether they're a resident or an owner, but they don't have an effect if they're just a resident, just a renter. They don't have an effect on determining whether the supermajority is required.
So if they're a renter and they're opposed, they need to call their landlord, their owner, and ask their owner. If they're opposed, then it's for whatever, and send a letter.
They could both send a letter.
Both count.
The renter can
Yeah.
still
For
send a
different
letter.
reasons.
Gotcha.
It just doesn't affect the supermajority. All right. I think that ends the rezoning request portion of the agenda and brings us to the old business.
Really not all further.
Okay, so it's just reading right now.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I still have is ask the city
I think if you said that, I was looking at that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody else has better word.
How you guys?
I wonder if you just don't say, covenants and restrictions, because by design, typically, they have something in there that says that that's their opinion. I can draw
I know, see, people learn about city government.
Yeah, we wanted to take that out.
Maybe.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. Michael said you have to wait for council, but I wanted to check for you.
Consider that like a common interest.
Well, I had one of my
Minority
guys
all
today
by
for a
means.
lady who comes
I think the state, they have to have that. They have to have that.
Okay. So it's in color. And the other thing is, just to let you all aware, that the next public hearing will be on the Riley Park subdivision rezoning request. And instead of the 3rd, it is actually September 24th. Dr. Boyd Harris to get the report. It's okay, it's one day later than what we anticipated.
So on the 24th of this month.
Yes.
6:30.
And Mike will answer all your questions. That day, he'll not be here. At 6:30.
Birthday. Where's that one located again?
Here, meeting?
No, the Raleigh Park subdivision. Where's that?
It's across the highway, Highway 124.
Just south of New Beginnings.
Right across from Peter's.
Yeah, there's a
Oh.
church just south of
Okay,
there.
gotcha. I know what I'm talking about now. I see it now. I'm just crappy with maps. All right, so we had, that, was there anything else with the old, business? Prior business? Brings us to Asbury Rise. We want to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
You gonna second it? All right, we had a motion and a second to adjourn, please. A motion? Landon, sorry. And a second?
And Dawn seconded.
Seconded. So, wow.
What
This
happened
Dawn
to,
got this done in a job.
chickens and zero lot lines and short-term rental?
Those were just for the commission to review and they did.
In case we
They
saw
did.
anything in it, which we don't really want to. All right. On the 24th, I might make him come here.